Next is item number 17, an application
Yeah,
for a
maybe.
certificate of
Fred's
appropriateness in
gonna
the Borough of Manhattan, docket number 15-6241, block 486, lot 5, 70 Wooster Street in the Soho Cast Iron Historic District, a loft building built in 1869 and altered in 1916. The application is to alter a storefront window and paint brick piers.
Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rebecca Salgado, Preservation Department staff. Subject property is on the west side of the street between Groom and Spring. Here's a current photo of the building. Here's the 1940s tax photo of the building and the 1980s tax photo of the building, which was taken after the Soho Cast Iron District was already designated. The applicants propose to replace an existing fixed display window in the storefront infill with an operable double hung window within the existing frame. The storefront infill at this building was installed with LPC permits in the 1990s, so it's not historic. The applicant also proposes to paint the brick piers at the base of the building a dark blue to match the existing storefront infill finish. These brick piers were painted without LPC permits, their current white color, sometime around 2007, and before that they were unpainted. And architect Ayatollah will further explain the
number is
proposal
this?
to you.
Which one is this? I'm sorry. Number 17. Okay.
Hi, Ayatollah Blowtech and Aaron Mark, also Blowtech. So we're working on 70 Wooster Street on the ground floor space for retail. They will go in there, and an essential part of the retail operation is to have a storefront window. They have a small coffee and cookie vending cart, and that's why they really wanted to have an operable window on the front so that they could service the street. So the proposal is very much based on that. What we are proposing is that this window, so that just for clarity, the space that we have is this entire space. So it's a double height space that has a series of double hung windows at the top and a series of clear storefronts. And what we are proposing is to make also this a double hung window, very much following the proportion of the one above, to be able to service the retail. Location is on Wooster Street between Spring and Grand. As it was said before, this is the actual condition, and the piers have been painted white without permit before. The historic photos, unfortunately, is very tangential, so it doesn't show the space very well, the one from the 40s, but the image from the 50s shows the window that we're talking about, and obviously it's a very messy situation that was probably connected to this occupancy that was there before. We're trying to be very respectful with the existing conditions, so this is the actual condition, and the proposal is to just add the double hang. And then the other thought that we had was to actually make it more like the rest of the Soho storefronts, where generally they are much more uniform in color. So the existing coloring is a dark gray with a hint of blue, and we are proposing to match the color. We actually have a paint chip from that they came off the storefront if you want to review it. Here there are more detailed drawings that show the condition of the window, the relationship between the window and the one above, which is very much the same proportion. The fact that we're keeping everything in the facade exactly as it is, including this griddle that is below. The general condition of the building, which also has a series of double hang windows, and then the storefront detail, where you can see our window, which is right here, the window in question, and a more detailed view of that window, that pier with the window in there, the elevation and section. And then this is in addition to actually, well, these are just references to show more the idea of the uniformity of the storefront, the ground level, and the idea of painting the piers and the mullions all with the same coloring. And then in addition to this is actually right next to our site on Wooster Street, so it's a similar condition. And then in addition to that, we are showing this page that was not shown at the community board. At the community board, there was concern expressed towards the idea of the double hang window as definitely a reference for windows, but not necessarily on the ground floor. And actually, the building right next to ours, so this is us, and this is the one right next to it, has double hang windows all along the ground floor. So this is a page that was not shown at the community board, but that we went to, we went to look at it more carefully after, just to support.
What's the reason again for the double hung?
It's a retail shop that has a small operation where they sell cookies and coffee, so they want to be able to do that directly on the street. And we went through a series of iteration for possible windows. We thought, first we thought it would be a swing window from the inside, but in all truth, this is the most common window, and it's all over the facade. It's basically, when you look especially at the, the existing facade condition, the double, this is our space. So because of the double height, the double hang windows are all along. So we felt that at the end, it seems to be the most appropriate to allow the retailer to run their operation.
One more question.
Yes.
Did you consider not painting the entirety of the lower floor, the lower two levels, one color? In other words, maybe letting the brick?
We didn't, because we just thought it would be simpler,
Yeah.
but obviously we are open to suggestions.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, anything else to add? That's it? Okay, is there, Barbara, are you on for this? Any testimony? Okay, community board, 2. Be resolved, community board 2 recommends denial of the application because it will set a bad precedent, introducing an incongruous double-hung window amidst the row of fixed windows, which results in the disruption of the harmony and the symmetry of the building's fenestration. And further resolve that the brickwork should be stripped and exposed, not painted over. And let's see if that went to the full board. I guess it went to the full board. I can't. Certainly, it's a unanimous vote of the Landmarks Committee. Any response? I guess that's all the testimony. Anything further to say based on this?
The double hang, I said, the only
Yeah.
thing that I would add is that we also discussed with the community board that the building really doesn't have much symmetry on the facade anymore, because as you can see, in order to add the separate entry for the building tenants and for the storefront, in reality, that symmetry is already gone.
Okay. Fred, discussion?
I guess there are two issues, really, double hung and the color. I have no problem with the double hung. I think the applicant was pretty quickly responsive to the community board's thought that there's no such thing as double hungs on the ground floor, but then right next door she found them. Even if you didn't find them, I don't think it's a huge intrusion, and I think it's a small accommodation to allow a food shop to open their windows and serve something over a counter like that, or through the transom of an open window, I guess, not a transom. Not a counter. So I'm okay with that. I'm sort of torn between whether painting the whole thing, and there are plenty of examples in Soho where the whole lower 2 levels are painted. You give examples of that. It looks very beautiful actually that way, and simple and kind of architectural. But I'm sort of wondering what other commissioners might think about stripping the white paint, which is inappropriate and should not be there, stripping the white paint and just allowing the original brick to be shown as it exists above. So I'll just wait and listen.
Michael?
I vote for stripping. I mean, I think that while I think the use of paint is relatively common, one sees it often, and I think it does look perfectly nice in the rendering. I think that the fact that this low building, up until fairly recently, did present a unified volumetric expression, where from bottom to top it had a same material, same color, I think would be a very good way to restore it. I also have no problem with the double hung at all.
Chris?
I agree. The brick.
Strip it, keep the double hung.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Okay, we all agree on that, I believe. So can't act right now. Well, hopefully we will be able to act shortly with that proviso and approve it. But for now, close this hearing with a motion and a second. Thank you. Okay.
Next, we're going to be doing item number 17, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, docket number 15-6241, block 486, lot 5, 70 Wooster Street in the Soho Cast Iron Historic District. And this is an application to alter a storefront window and paint brick piers.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Rebecca Salgado, Preservation Department staff. The subject property is on the west side of the street between Broome Street and Spring. So here's a current photo of the building, historic photos. So there's two parts of this application that needed to be reviewed by the commission. The first element is that the applicant wanted to replace this fixed display window in the non-historic storefront infill with an operable double hung window. The second element was to paint these brick piers a dark blue to match the existing storefront infill.
What color?
Dark blue. But these piers were painted without LPC permits around 2007. So the commissioners achieved consensus by approving the double hung window. They denied the applicant's request to paint the brick piers a dark blue and instead requested that the applicants strip the paint from the piers to match the historic condition, and the applicants are willing to do this.
We're going to strip it, okay, good.
We like the rest of the facade, yeah, instead of
And
having paint.
the window was okay.
Yeah, we were
And what
like-
color are the windows? Are the windows blue too?
Yeah, they're like a
Yeah.
dark blue, yeah. So they were thinking about painting the brick a dark
So
blue.
they're gonna strip the brick so it'll be like the
Brick,
house
yeah.
up
Yeah.
above.
Yeah.
You can see this is the historic brick condition, and until around 2007, the piers were unpainted.
Okay, that's good. Good. Michael?
All right.
Whenever we have to.
11. Wait, no, I'm sorry, excuse me.
17.
Excuse me. We did 11.
Okay. Regarding, thank you, 70 Worcester Street.
And we have to deny the paint because it's illegal, so you'll have to do an approval for the window and a denial.
Got it, okay. The application is to alter the storefront window. In regarding that, I recommend approval,
That's part 2.
finding that the removal of the existing storefront display window will not eliminate significant historic fabric, that the proposed display window will be installed within the existing window frame and will maintain the existing bulkhead below, all of which were approved under previous LPC permits, that the building will employ the latest structural, that the configuration of the proposed double hung display window is in keeping with the historic storefronts found on buildings of this age and type in the historic district, that the blue painted finish of the proposed wood display window will match the finish and materials of the existing storefront infill and will not call undue attention to the new window, and that the proposed work will not detract from the special architectural and historic character of the Soho Cast Iron District.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Worcester Street, Soho Cast Iron Historic District. The application is to paint the brick piers. I recommend denial, finding that the painted brick piers, which were previously painted without LPC permits, do not reflect the historic condition of the building, as seen in historic photographs, that the layers of paint obscure the visual quality of the historic masonry material and may trap moisture, resulting in future deterioration of the masonry, that the proposed blue painted brick piers, when combined with the existing blue painted storefront infill, will result in a monolithic finish that weakens the composition of the historic facade, and that the proposed work will detract from the special historic and architectural character of the building in Soho Castarian Historic District.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.